And I would really love to work as your senator to solve the problems we face now, and also those that will probably be a little more generously looked at when times get better, when there's a little bit of money. When I was mayor, I had the fortune to have a few good years where there was money, and it's certainly, as rewarding as it is to, in public life, to help your community during the hard times, it's just as rewarding when there's money to put projects forward and do things that help people. But I'm running, and I've thought a lot about this, and it's, well, why now? Why are you doing it? There's personal reasons. My business is established. We're empty nesters. My daughter will graduate from college, and next year I'll get the biggest pay raise I've ever gotten. But there's also public reasons, and I think when you decide to run, and I've talked to a few people here, not just tonight, but other nights, who have held elective office, all you can do is put yourself forward and ask people to consider you, what you stand for, what your experience is, what your life's been like, and I think most importantly, who are the people with you? And that's where all of you are my strongest point, because people want to know who's supporting John Mitchell, which of my friends and neighbors know him, and what do they think of him. And that's why I'm running. There are difficult issues, and I want to address a few of those. We're not just here to give a rundown of every issue. There's a lot of them confronting this state. But the basic point of our campaign is going to be the economy and jobs, jobs, and jobs. That's the biggest question people face. And again, to go back to my law practice, you see it day to day, how a lack of a job affects people. We don't think of it, but because we're usually complaining about it, except when jobs are difficult to get or you're laid off. But a job sets your routine every day. The job identifies who you are. It sets most of your social life. It's the basis for your family relationship in many ways. And it provides for you, and it provides for your children and for your future. Without a job, a person's dignity is terribly affected. And in this economy, we see it everywhere around us. And I want to be elected to go to Boston to work on that. I recognize I'm one of 40 state senators. I recognize it's a legislative position, not an executive position, but there's a lot that can be done there. The Boston Globe recently had an article, and the article was about how from 2000 to 2009, the state of Massachusetts lost jobs. Despite the great years we had from 2004 until 2008, the state actually lost jobs in that decade. And that's the first decade Massachusetts has lost jobs since the Depression, since the 1930s. That's got to be reversed. Massachusetts has got to be made affordable once again. It's got to be a state where we can all afford the basic expenses, our auto insurance, our health insurance, our energy cost, our workman's comp insurance if we're small businesses. We've got to have a Senate and a state government that responds to that. And I want to be elected. The state regulates all those costs I just mentioned. And I want to be elected to help oversee that. There was an article again in the newspaper the other day, and some of this I didn't realize to the extent. But until this year, the health insurance companies that all of you are paying such high premiums for, and which cost you so much out of your paycheck, they're regulated by the state. And until this year, they typically provided the State Insurance Commission with the increase they wanted in your premium on March 31st, and it went into effect on April 1st. This year, for the first time, they had to present it 30 days before. And just so you know, the increases are 8 to 35% across the board. It's good that, for once, the state government at least has a 30-day period to look at it. I think it's got to be treated much, much differently. Health insurance premiums should be looked at just as energy costs are, just as the auto insurance rate is set, and the fact that the biggest cost to most people outside of their mortgage is handled in such a cavalier manner. That has to be corrected. And I would like to go to Boston to help correct that for you. On the other hand, I recognize there's a lot of services the state provides, and the state's going to have to continue to provide them. services that affect our seniors, veterans, the disadvantaged, the disabled, and young people, particularly education. But what has to be done, I think, is a more disciplined look at the state budget, its state cost, at the way state government imposes cost on us. I think the old politics has passed, that the new politics has to be something that's more affordable for all of you, that they don't sneak by registry charges like they just tried to do on $5 if you went on the internet. That was knocked off, and it has to continue to be knocked off. I want to go up there to be your watchdog, to look at all this, and to watch it carefully. My plan, the one promise I'll make in this campaign, and I've always been careful with campaign promises because you don't know what the future holds, but the one promise I make is if I am elected, I'll be back here in rooms like this, meeting with people, and have regular town meetings to find out what your problems are, what you want from state government, and also to let you know, here's what we're doing up there. Tell me what's the silly stuff, and tell me what is the serious stuff. And that's the one campaign promise and one commitment I'll make to you at this point. Locally, there are many, many issues. And remember, you're in the State House, you're dealing with state issues, but there are many local issues. I want to work hard on your behalf on the LNG issue. The train. That train's going to take longer than the bridge took to build. I call that bridge the Phantom Bridge in 1991 when I ran for mayor the first time. And 20 years later, it's got at least some flesh on it. But, and I feel the train is the same thing. That's been talked about almost as long as the bridge. And I would like to go to Boston. I would love nothing more to see that in place. I think that's a critical issue for us. I'm a former mayor, and I would love to keep an eye on local aid, because it's clear what's happening to local government. It's disappearing. Maybe at one point there was a lot of waste, but go to City Hall now and go into the departments where there's one person working, or there's two people where they need 5 or 6. And I'm not saying go out and hire everyone, but I am saying the state's got to contribute its fair share, and for them to make cuts in the middle of a budget process, to me as a mayor, former mayor, is grossly unfair, and that's got to be watched. And hopefully, as I said earlier, that there will be a time when money's more plentiful, when times are a little better, and there are a lot of projects I would love to see here. They talk about the Brightman Street Bridge being a walking bridge. I think that would be a great way to tie in the rest of our waterfront, which will now be the, I guess, Slade's Ferry Park underneath the new bridge. And to do something with that, to make it an area for entertainment, and to tie the two communities together. I would love to do something with the Quikasham River. I think that's one idea I'd hope to do something with it as mayor, but it wasn't the time back then. That would be something great to do. So there are plenty of ideas, there's plenty to do, but it's all just hypothetical. It's a dream without any of you. So I thank you. I ask you for your full support. We will have a good time. Someone asked me the other day, what about events? I said, we're going to have them, but we just have to go home a little bit earlier now. But we're going to have a very good time, an energetic campaign. But again, I can only do it with all of you. So thank you very much. This is a great start. I look forward to working with all of you.